What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing You season finale, and it's called Bluebeard's Castle.
Bluebeard.
Bluebeard.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, our MVPs, and it's the final one, so be sure to stick around for that.
And remember, guys, we are premiering this episode, so make sure that you guys are staying with the podcast as we go through it, and make sure you guys jump in the live chat whenever you can if you're watching this on YouTube, and let's just have a full discussion because we're going to be up on there
full
too.
Discussion.
Let's do this business, girl.
Yeah, let's do it because I think I'm officially done with this show.
Oh, God.
So let's all just finish it up,
boy.
say the ending, I'm good, and that's it.
All right.
What did you think of the episode?
Okay. We all know how the book ends, right?
Right.
I mean, you and I
Well,
both know how
the book readers know how the book ends.
So it's not that I was gagged by it. However, there were some moments that I really enjoyed that they inserted into the show that they didn't have in the book. And I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Right.
But I think that they try to do what they've been doing this whole season, which is even the playing field between Joe and Beck.
Yeah.
And it's what I said from basically the get-go. It shouldn't be about evening the playing field because it's not about that. It's not about two people who have a twisted love affair. It's literally about a stalker and the person that he's stalking. Like, cut and dry. This is, yes, it is a twisted love story, like wrapped in between all of that, and you kind of get that in the final pages of the book as well. But I think that it doesn't justify, like, everything that happens at the end of this story and with Joe is not justified in any means. And the way everything goes down, it still sucks. You don't feel like you won. And it's not fair. Yeah. There's so many injustices in this finale that make you very frustrated with how it all goes down. And I don't know, like, anyway, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think there are some great parts of the episode that I loved, and when I felt them, I was like, I wish this whole show was this.
Yes.
I wish I felt this for the whole show because I think it could be so powerful. I think Beck's story can be so powerful, but I don't think we get that at all, and I feel so sad about that.
Yeah.
And the way the show ends is not how the book ends, so I'm hoping that at some point we feel that a bit more, maybe the show takes us there, maybe, but the book didn't give that to me. And I remember like finishing the book and feeling very like let down and hurt, and I was like, wow, like she doesn't even win at the end. Like,
right.
Like in this day and age, I expect this female character to somehow win something. Maybe she can die, maybe she'll do that, but like somehow she wins at something.
Yeah.
And the book at least ended off with nothing. And I just felt so like at a loss. I was like, wow, this truly sucks.
Yeah.
So,
but that being said, I mean, before we get into the episode, I think that just knowing that you don't get to win and every love story isn't like, you know, that perfect love story is fine.
I don't think it's just a love story. I think it's so much more than just them two falling in love. I think it's about him, how he's dealt with his trauma in his life, how he's dealt with his childhood, how she's dealt with everyone telling her how she should live her life, how things are going to turn out, who she needs to be as a person. It's way more than just a love story.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, I don't know.
Would you have wanted to see this end any other way?
Yeah, of course.
With her getting away?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course. Like,
listeners, let us know what you guys think. Do you think that it was a justified ending? Is that like what did you guys think about it just in like a few sentences? Let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into the episode.
Yeah, let's get into it.
And then we'll dive deeper. So it starts really quickly off with a memory, which we see throughout the episode, of Mr. Mooney throwing Joe into the cage. And we saw this in the very beginning of the season as well. And he's just kind of going off on him, saying, like, you deserve this. This is, like, what you need for your life and betterment, whatever. So you can tell that, like, Joe's extracting that from his own trauma. That's why Beck is in the cage as well, because it's a place of punishment and it's a place of, recuperation.
What did you think about seeing those flashbacks at this point in the show?
I mean, I get it. You're trying to bring it all back together by the season finale. I don't think we got enough of them in throughout the season, but at the same time, like, there's not enough time to talk about the Mr. Mooney storyline.
And I think I already understood it enough. Like, I think I got the fact that, like, Joe was in the cage. Like, I think I felt all of that already.
I think it was more just, like, underscoring that whole concept, right? Like, people underscoring the fact that, not people, but them underscoring the fact that he had trauma. So it is kind of linking it all the way back.
And that he's in the cage to make himself better.
Right.
There's like a betterment,
right. Because the last time,
but I
think the last time we saw him in the show throwing him to the cage, like you're like, why? Like, what's wrong with him? Is he some sort of like masochist? Like he just likes to watch people go through pain. But then you realize like he has a reason behind it, and Moody like gives him a reason why he's in there, and he's like, true.
Yeah, but again, like I don't like the fact that they're using that to be like, yeah, he's just locking back up to like teach her something.
Yeah.
Like this is no.
Anyway, so cutting to that, so right off the top, Beck is like going crazy in there, and she sees Joe, and she's like, how long are you gonna keep me in here? And he says himself, I haven't even thought that far ahead. Like, bro, you are doing so many things that are so inappropriate, and you're not thinking far enough ahead to figure out what's going to happen next. And that's the one thing about this story that really confused me is, yes, he's not the classical serial killer. He's doing all these things because he loves these women, but I don't understand how he's done it so many times that he doesn't think that way. Like, it's just not a believable situation for me where, like, I don't know why you're in a cage right now. I didn't think about that.
I think it's the idea that he's constantly in this, like, he's fighting this, like, I'm not a real killer, but I kill. Yeah. I'm not a real killer. It's not in me, but I kill.
Yeah.
Constantly, like, the struggle where, like, by episode 10, like, I don't believe it anymore. Like, you're a fucking killer. Like, you're a sociopath. Right. Like, you are that guy.
Yeah, it's true.
So either just be it or don't be it. Yeah. Like, choose.
So one of his big things he says is, everything that I did was for you. Like, he says it time and time again to her that, you know, he had to do all these bad things.
Which I think he truly believes.
Sure, which is okay. Like, if you want to run with that, run with that. And she does say, like, tell me you didn't kill Benji. Like, what was in that box? Did you kill Peach? And he's like, he kind of like has a psychotic moment. And like, that's what I mean. I feel like the way they wrote him and the way that Penn Badgley acts him out, he seems to have these like psychotic breaks where he's like, right, like literally in the middle of this conversation where she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, true, you don't know anything. Let me go get some evidence. I'm going to come right back. Don't worry about it. Like, who talks like that? That's insane. Like,
I mean, he's crazy.
He's crazy, but that's what I mean. Like, trying to create a believable character out of a person who's actually crazy is hard for me to get behind. Like, I don't understand what we were supposed to feel for Joe in these moments. And I said it from the beginning of the season. What are we supposed to feel when we know the history of his life? He's fucked up. We get it. He's messed up. He's had a really bad traumatic life. And that does not justify him locking a girl into a cage and thinking that he loves her. Like, it just doesn't. Anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah.
So he goes upstairs, and it turns out the bookstore is still open. Like, people are still walking around with books. And like, I was like, what the this guy is crazy. And so he decides to tweet out on Beck's phone, like, going on a retreat, like, I'm just chilling out, like, whatever, BRB. And like, because Annika's messaging her, and she's just kind of getting herself off the grid. And he's like, true, I need to like make sure that this is managed. So that's the thing. Everything that he's doing is still predetermined. Like, he's still deciding what to do, or is he just thinking on his feet? Like, what do you think that whole situation is? Do you think he's like that sharp-witted, or do you think that he's...
I mean, he's doing everything that he has been doing all season. He has all the things that he did with Benji and Peach, he's doing again with her. So I think it's very practiced, whether he wants to believe it or not. Like, he's doing...
And I think that's exactly what you just said is exactly the key. Whether or not he wants to believe it, he's doing
like,
it.
I'm going to believe that. Joe, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but I think you're crazy.
So then it shows him walking home, and he sees Claudia in the back of the ambulance. Guys, I'm done. I'm done. I'm
so done with this C story. Like, the C line story. This
Z line story is so extra. So the police, he talks to the policewoman, and he's like, that guy who's going into the back of the ambulance, Ron, is the one that beat her the fuck up. And she's like, true, I know. But she claims that she got hit, like she fell or something. So we can't do anything about it. And he's like, where's Paco? And they're like, there were no kids. So I'm like, fucking Paco's on the loose. Great. We're gonna have to deal with that shit later in this episode. And on top of that, like, I just don't care about this fucking Claudia Ron storyline. And not at all.
Not at all. Not in the season finale.
Like, get out of here.
Like, Claudia, get your life together, homie.
So then it comes back to the cage. And again, Beck is just glitching out. She's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, get me out of here. And he says, like, ask me anything. He does an AMA, and he just wants to know, like, the entire situation. Like, tell me what you need to know. And she's like, why did you do everything that you did? And he was like, listen, I need to tell you the other side of it. So then he shows a video of Benji, killing the kid, and he's like, look, like he's not innocent, he actually did something wrong. And she's like, true, and then he shows Peach and how he had all these pictures of her,
like how she had the pictures of Beck,
right, and he's like, look, like she's a crazy too. Yeah. And she's like, true. And then she's like, but like, what about the rest of the box? And he's like, yeah, like there's underwear and shit in there, but he's like, don't worry about it. It's like
they kept bleeping it out again. I know. I hated it, especially in this episode, because Beck gets so angry and she curses him out, and she's like, you're jerking off to my pants. Like they bleeped everything out, and I was like, oh, this sounds so stupid.
Freaking Lifetime.
Yeah.
So she's getting upset because he's like trying to justify everything, but he's crazy. He's freaking. He's crazy. He talks like he's anyway. Whatever.
Anyways,
he says, and one of the things that he says in this moment is, Beck, I love you, and loving somebody means you'll do anything for them. And I'm like, oh god. And then while she starts to kind of like understand it a little bit, she is like, it's an interesting dynamic that they have in this episode where she kind of like takes one step forward,
comes in,
and then he like fucks up again. So as he's trying to convince her, she sees the box of teeth in the box, and she's like, the teeth? And then he looks over at her and he's like, it's Benji's. Like I had to burn his body.
Sorry about
and
it.
It's like, put his teeth away. And then she like loses her mind again.
So
she's
this
like,
is the thing,
you
right?
killed them. You're a murderer. Like,
I think in this moment they're both desperate, right? Like he's desperate for her to believe his stories and to be on his side,
right? And
she's in desperation mode where she's like, how do I play this right now? Like,
right.
Do I play him like sweet and like kind of like get him to open up the door?
Right.
But I think as he's telling her the truth, like she's glitching out because now she's really finding out what's happening and what's happened this whole time. And she's like, what the F? What, like, how did I let this happen?
Yeah, I think
so. I felt so bad for her too. Like you could tell she's trying to play in, but like it's not getting far because she's shocked.
She can't even hold it all in because she's so overwhelmed with it, with what he just did or what she found out he did. So he says like, I would never hurt anybody I love, and that's when we get like, tell that to Candace, you sick beep, like literally everything's beeped out. But like, she's pissed off. She thinks that she Candace died because of you, like all these things happened, and he's like, you don't understand. And anyway, it cuts to her falling asleep, so she passes out, and then it shows him going into the actual cage, and he like gives her a blanket and like changes her shit water.
Yeah, like she's like peeing and shitting in the like, cage in the bucket. Too.
Yeah, like, and he brings her avocado toast. Like she's like, what are you doing? Like, what were you doing in here for a second? And he's like, I was just like making sure that you're like all zhuzhed up and like all cute. And he's just like. Anyway, whatever. So she gets really, really annoyed and like freaked out about it too. And he says at one point, he's like, I spent a lot of time in here at one point in time in my life. Like and then it cuts to a shot again of Mr. Mooney, and he's making it seem like it's very much a part of how he became who he was, just based on the discipline that Mooney gave him.
Right.
So then she looks at him after he has this memory and how like, Mooney like treated him this way, and she says like, I feel bad for you, Joe. Like I just feel bad for you. Like I pity you. And he says it in his like inner monologue. He's like, was that pity? Was that you like feeling bad for me? And he starts to get frustrated because he's like, it's not about you feeling bad for me. You have to understand my point of view in order for us to be equals. Anyway, he goes upstairs, and in that moment, Ethan is wrestling with Paco because Paco's literally trying to steal
trying to grab a gun. Like I don't understand why.
How would he have known that there was a gun?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Like he never worked at the shop. Well, he did work that one day.
That the gun was there. Like
I don't know.
It was so random.
Actually, no. I think he did say something about it earlier in the episode where he was like, "There's guns for adults" or whatever. Like when he worked there that one day. And he almost went downstairs while Benji was down there. Fucking crazy.
Right.
Anyways, fucking Paco. So, I wrote down, throw Paco in the fucking cage. Like, I think he needs a little lesson in fucking being a regular person. So, he says to Paco, like, don't worry about it. Like, I know that you're stressed out, but you can't just, like, run around with a gun, like, kill people. And he's like, I'm not stupid, Joe.
He's like, I'm not a kid.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Take me to the park.
So like, get out of here. So that he's like, don't worry, here are my keys to my apartment. Just stay in my place. It's a safe house. Like, I can't. So, then he goes to see Lynn and Annika. Joe goes to see Lynn
Yeah.
and Annika because they're still like asking what's going on, and he doesn't want to look suspicious either.
Yeah.
So he's like, guys, I'm worried. Like, can you just please tell me?
It just grosses me out. Like,
it's freaky,
the
man.
The degree of how much he lies and how he just plays it off like charm. Like, they're like, oh, like what happened? He's like, oh, we broke up. Like,
he's
you
so
know,
twisted.
He's
and the
so
way
like
he
chill
thinks
about it too. He's like, well, we
things.
broke up. You know, they're like, but why? He's like, I found out like she was cheating on me. Like, he says it in such a like confident and laid back way where like you would probably believe him totally.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary.
He's literally getting away with murder. So, so they say like, oh, don't worry about it, Joe. Like, she ghosted all of us. Like, she's on a retreat, and he has a quick moment where he's doubting himself in the relationship that they have, and he says like, do you think that me and her are the real thing? And both of them say,
because
like,
they said like, we thought you guys were endgame. Like, wow, that's so surprising that you guys would break up.
Right.
And he's like, wow. Like, he gets like
She
more
gets so
impressed with
excited
himself.
again. And she's like, maybe one of them do mention like, oh, maybe like she got scared, and because one of the PI is investigating, and he's like, PI. So then he learns about the PI who's investigating Peach's death, and so then that happens, and then he's like, oh shit, now I'm gonna have to figure this whole situation out. So then he goes back to the cage, and he like tells her about his day. He's like, so I had a really crazy day. Like, I basically lied about the fact that you're in this cage to all your friends, and I found out about the PI. So can you tell me about the PI? And she's like, how are you not surprised that there's a PI? You literally know what you did. Like, you're fucking crazy, bro. And he tries to defer it over to her, and is like, go right in your typewriter.
I love every
like,
time that she called him out that he's crazy and he's a sociopath.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to handle it. Like,
he doesn't know what to say.
Finally, after 10 episodes, she's calling him out for his shit.
Yeah.
She's saying like, no, you're crazy though. Like, you're actually like crazy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to react.
Exactly. She's like, why don't you go right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what else to say.
He's like, don't worry. Like, I know you're going to have to write something really good. And like,
yeah, fucking crazy.
It's just, it makes me sick. Like, it's so,
So then he also says that like Paco was caught trying to steal the gun.
Yeah.
And then she tries to use that as an angle to like kind of like make him feel a little bit better. She's like, you know, you do all this great stuff for Paco, and like, that's crazy. I can't believe, like, they're trying to have like a regular like Sunday conversation.
She's trying to like weave in there and
as if they like nothing's wrong, like that she's not in a freaking cage. So
but
she's
did
like,
you believe that she's trying to play him in this moment, or that like she's,
you know what, I will say that the way that it was
him.
written was very cool, and like the way that they kind of stretched out that this part of the story was really interesting, because I never knew what she was at, like where her head was at. Like, was she starting to feel convinced? And I think even in the book you don't really know what's going on in her mind because you don't get that side of the story, right? So even in the book, is she trying to get out the entire time, or is she really starting to like kind of rehabilitate a little bit and realize her mistakes and realize that like what he is doing is because he loves her? And you know, it's a very interesting way to play this out by the end of it, right? Because she gets a moment of reflection too, even in the story, even in the show. Finally. So so she does say like, I need to go pee, and then he opens the door and
she's like, let me go pee
like,
outside. Like, come on, like.
And then she like looks kind of in the corner, and he sees her like looking at the corner of her eye, and he's like, sorry, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I need a pee. And so she ended up saying, like, she freaks out again, and she's like, I'm so stupid, I was so wrong, how did I not see this? And like, I wrote down, yeah, girl, that's literally what everyone was saying while they were watching this television show.
Not really. Like, here's the thing, like, if you want to really like talk about if she should have booked this, I don't know if she should have. She could have maybe broken up with him and been like, hey, you're a weirdo, one hundo.
Yeah.
But like, are you a psychopath killer who like killed both of my like friends?
Right.
I don't know if she would have suspected
That's
that.
That's fair.
Do you know what I
that's
mean?
true. That's true.
Like,
I mean,
I think she could have been weirded out by him for sure. But to think that he's a killer, I don't know.
Right. And it is really interesting because they do break up. Like, you have to remember that they did break up in one moment, and then they like kind of came back together, and it was kind of partially her to blame, not to blame, but she
like her choice.
She brought him back in too,
sure.
right? So yeah, it's not like she's that stupid. She did a lot of things willingly. So he once again changes the subject, and he says like, you should be writing, and she's like, you're a fucking psycho. And then she's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna write now. Like, literally, like, as he's leaving, she like looks at the typewriter. She's like, true, okay, fine, I'm gonna do this now.
She has like the most bomb ass like.
This is like the
book part I've ever read in my entire life.
This is literally one of the best writing of and reflection of a story that I've ever like heard.
Yeah.
And I am so.
Was it paraphrased from the book?
No,
exactly. It wasn't, right?
No. Does she? Because
I feel like she doesn't reflect as much as she did in those lines.
I mean, here's the thing. I think in the book you don't get, like, you get him reading it, but I don't think you get all these nuanced details. The story of the Bluebeard's castle and the Prince Charming. Like, guys, it's my best line, and I'm gonna talk about it at the end of the episode. But it was this amazing story of believing in the Prince Charming all your life and wanting that perfection and wanting to be loved, but also that idea that you can't just have someone who loves you and adores you and not take all the bad that comes with that, right? And she wanted this all of her life, and that's kind of what she says. She's like, I wanted this, so why are you so afraid of taking this away? Like, why are you so afraid of him now that you have all this person who will literally kill for you?
Why can't you just accept this part of him? And
she says this really amazing line at the end. She says, what if you can't give him that love back? What if you don't feel like you're the one for him? And like, it's this crazy story of self-love, and like, even though we're seeking out this love from someone else, you realize that it all has to do with how you feel
about yourself. Yeah.
And
like, no matter what crazy shit he's done, she's still trying to think of it like, can I still love him?
Yeah.
Can this work?
Yeah. Which
is crazy.
It's actually crazy, but it was so well written. What did you think about this part?
Oh my God. No, I was like almost on the verge of tears. Like, it was like, I was like, Beck, like, where have you been this whole time?
Yeah.
Like, if you had just written more like bomb ass pieces like this, you would have been my MVP the whole effing season.
It's true.
Like, it was so beautiful. The music was like this like soft like piano. I'm like, yo, this is so sad.
And you see her memories of like how she was bullied when she was a kid.
The uncle. I'm like, yo.
There's so many things in it that
was so real.
And I would love to know Caroline Kepnes's, the author, her perspective. And I know that this is all Joe driven and this is all his mindset, what she thought of this particular moment in the finale, because we never got this in the book. It's just an interesting way to look at love between the two of them, for sure.
And I think like almost like a violent love too, a little bit, or like if you're in like a dysfunctional relationship or like an abusive relationship where like you're trying to bargain with yourself to be like,
is it worth it?
I'm fucked up too, but like maybe I can deal with his shit or her shit or whatever, vice versa. Like,
it's true.
Maybe this can work. No, like, it's
sometimes. I mean, this
is a very extreme. He's a sociopath. Like, it's crazy. So no.
I think the truth.
Won't work.
The truth of the matter is, like, love has its goods and bads and ups and downs, and you have to take all of it at the same time. You have to see, which I love, the fact that she says you have to take the beast with the prince. Like, sometimes they're the same person, and you. Or the Bluebeard with the prince. And like,
to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
To a certain extent.
Absolutely.
So like, I feel like them saying this in the contrast with like contrasting like Joe's face, I'm like, hey guys, don't
take this to heart.
This is not what this should be.
Like, you shouldn't be looking at
he's
that
crazy. Way. You're locked up in a cage right now.
And that's the thing. I think that's and this is kind of the crux of what I've been talking about this whole season, and really in this finale, it really shows fully is. They try so hard to make her this redeemable character who was completely blindsided by everything, and she wasn't the smartest girl in the tool shed, and that's kind of like why she ended up where she is. But she has this really deep self-reflection, which makes you really feel for her in this moment, but then she doesn't win at the end anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this push and pull of how you're supposed to feel about her, and I really wish that they kind of kept it victim, stalker. That's it. Like, they should have just kept that storyline and kept it the way it was, because it should have stayed this unbalanced power, because that's what it is about. It's about a man's perspective against women. That's it. That's how I saw it, at least. Anyway, so it cuts to Joe, and he's going on his own like kind of like mission, and he's questioning it too. He's like, what if you're not the one for me? And he's like, oh, I can't be thinking about this now since she's in a freaking cage downstairs. Like, I can't do that now. And so he takes pictures of the street, and I guess he's posting on her social, just being like, I'm here now, whatever. And then he goes into her apartment and starts to pick up all these pieces, and he says it in the voiceover, like, I hate having to be here to try to pick up pieces just in case I kill you, like just in case people think that I'm the one that kills you. Like, he's he even says it himself in the voiceover, which is like, okay, fine, like you're fucking crazy, but sure, if you think that you picking up the pieces is just how much you hate yourself for doing it, like then go kill yourself. Like that's what I mean. She even says it so many times, like you're a dark person, you should have let yourself go. Like why are you anyway, we'll
that's what I always wondered too, like
you should have just killed yourself. Why are you killing everybody else? And it shows the PI. So one of the things you have to keep attention to is the PI was watching him in the apartment, like going into the apartment. So then it shows the next day, and the PI bumps into him in front of his house, I think, and he says, "Oh, you're Joe. Like I'm a PI. I'm looking into like Peach's investigation." And he's like, "Oh, really? That's crazy. I didn't know that she like, you know." He just plays stupid, and he says that, "Did you know that she had a stalker?" And he's like, "Yeah, I remember that time in the Times Square. Sasha, it was me." And then they're like, "Yeah, well, they're thinking that it might have been the same person in the house because we found pee-pee." Yeah.
Like the way this all kind of came down was hilarious a little bit. Like,
so he's like, true. And then it like cuts to the part where he, like he pees. And he's like, damn, I should have just like pissed myself. Like fuck, it's like in a jar and they're going to run DNA. And so he starts to kind of glitch out on the inside, but he's also like, he's just freaking out. He can't show it either. But he can't show it. He's like, the one thing I learned is not to show your cards.
Calm down.
Miss Moody, thank you. So he's not trying to panic, and the guy's just kind of like lurking and watching him. And then it shows another scene with Mooney, and Joe's apologizing, showing kind of like his progression. Like in the beginning, he was like fighting him. The second part was like he was saying like, this is for your own good, and this is Joe saying, I'm sorry, you're right. And he's like, this is just tough love. I'm teaching you a code to like live by. So like Mooney was trying to teach him to be a better person so he wouldn't become like this shit box of a man like his dad was, I guess. And he says like, I love you. And that twisted mindset of like why he
like, I love you and I'm doing this for your betterment.
For your betterment.
It's all that.
And yeah, it's just crazy to think that someone really thinks that way, and that's kind of what impresses the other
I think
person.
A lot of people think that way.
Yeah.
I think in certain cultures, you know, there's a lot of people that I think
I do this for your tough love.
For sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But this is just like a very extreme version of it. But like,
So then it cuts back to Beck and Joe in the cage, and she apologizes right off the top, and she's like, listen, I'm sorry for like freaking the fuck out on you, which I thought was a very interesting moment for her to apologize, but then you realize it's like she's just taking a different angle.
Yeah.
So then she's like, so what's for dinner, y'all? And he doesn't want to speak to her because he's pissed off, and he's like, the PI came to visit me, and he's asking so many questions, and he says like, I'm not a killer, like, and now I'm gonna have to go down for something that I did for you. Like, guys, his mind is so twisted.
At this point, I feel like he's falling apart a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what the next step is going to be. And he has her right in front of him. And he doesn't know what to do. So I feel like his whole mindset's unraveling in front of us, which is really cool to see finally.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for the most part, like all season, he's had his shit together.
For sure.
This time,
and now
he was
he's
like,
starting to unravel because he's realizing like what he's doing, people are picking up on it. Mm-hmm. And he's realizing that him covering shit up so he doesn't get caught for murder is actually like
he's doing it for
bad thing. Yeah.
And he's doing it for Beck.
And he's like, oh God, it's so insane. He's fucking delusional. So, Beck at this moment says, for the record, I don't hate you. I'm just trying to understand you better. And then she says, like, look at what you do for Paco. Like, let's figure this out for Paco. And, she tries that angle next, and he's like, true, like I gotta like watch out for that man, and like I gotta look for him now because he's basically staying at my place and I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Like, finding another box, I don't know. So then it cuts to Ron at Claudia's, and even though Claudia's like at home, she's like banging on the damn door. I don't know how that happened. Like Ron took her to the hospital. Now Claudia's locked him out of the apartment again. Like at this point, like, this guy does not have a key. Like it's such a joke. I thought it was a flashback moment. I was like, why are we watching this again?
What were all the times that Ron was sketched out at Joe?
Yeah.
Like that didn't lead to anything.
Nothing. And so whatever, he's banging on the door, and as he turns around, Paco hits him with a bat, and then he freaking runs away. Like it's such this moment, guys, I can't even talk about this without getting angry. So they run into a park, right? Is that how it happens? Like it was really dark. I couldn't see a lot of things.
No, it was so dark, and I couldn't see how it happened.
So I think he like hides in like the fog, and then Joe sees them, and then he stabs Ron and Paco's like right there beside him or something. So he sees Ron die.
So Ron's running towards Joe.
Ron's running towards Paco, and then in the whole midst of it all, like
Joe steps
like
in and stabs him.
Steps in and stabs him.
Because it was very confusing the way it happened.
And then he, like, Joe and Paco have this moment where he's like, "Don't worry about it now. It's all over. I need you to clean up the blood at the front." Like, he's basically teaching me how to be a killer. And Paco says, like, one of the most annoying lines. He's like, "He was a bad man, but it doesn't mean it was right to kill him." Then I want to strangle this character so badly. I don't understand why he exists.
Let's get to the end, and then we can really like dissect every single person and their uselessness.
And and Joe says in this moment too, he's like, sometimes like you don't want to hurt people, but like love is more important.
Yeah.
So you have to.
Okay. So then you can hurt someone. Yeah.
Fucking, oh my god. So anyways, like, don't worry, like, we'll figure this out. Like, I'll hide the body. Like, it's not gonna be a big deal. So then it comes back to the cage, and she's like so lit. Beck's like so lit. She's like, "I finished my typewriting book. Read this book for me, please." So she gives him like a few pages, and then he starts reading a few lines, and he's like, "What the fuck is this story about, like, your affair with your freaking therapist? Like, how is this supposed to make me feel better?" And then she's like, "No, read more." And then he's like, "What am I reading? Like, it's a story about like your like love affair going crazy." And she's like, "No, like, I saw him with a book, and then like I saw him like with a box at his place too, and he was a crazy stalker." And she's like, "Wink wink, this is your way out.
Flipping it around it. Yeah.
And this is what's gonna make you like get out of this situation. Nikki's our ticket out of the situation, so I can get out of this fucking
so I
cage.
can be with you."
And
wink wink.
and then she's like, this gave me a lot of time to think. Like, thank you so much for giving me this moment in this cage.
I'd like to thank Joe Goldberg for tying me up in a cage.
And she's like, "I love you more than ever." And she's like, "It's actually not so bad in here."
As
like,
she
girl, bye.
sits on her shit.
Yeah. And she says, like, "No one's ever taken care of me like you." Did you believe her in this moment?
No,
not at all.
No.
I mean, you knew, but
I think even in the book, I feel like it turned a corner where I was like, okay, I feel like she has to be playing this guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And also in the book, it gets way more sexual.
yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah, 100%.
A lot. Like,
so we'll get to that next. So
yeah.
So she's like, "No one's ever taken care of me like you," and she's kind of putting on her like doe eyes now.
Yeah. She's like playing cute.
She's like, "You know what? Like like at this moment, like the music would swell and like we would be making out."
Yeah.
And he's like, "True."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm into that."
She's almost describing that scenario like a book.
Yeah.
Like how they would in a book, and he's totally falling for it.
For sure. And so he decides to like open up the door. He's like,
He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it in."
He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it in." He's like, "I'm gonna lock this door behind me."
The way they did it in the book, like there was way more tension where like she was like basically jerking off in the cage.
Yes.
And then he was like outside. And I'm like, okay.
He was like, he brought her ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Like as
she's
soon
like,
as it
"I'm
got
wet."
there, I was like, she's faking. Like she's definitely playing him.
Right.
Like this would never get to this point. Like
Yeah.
she's scared for her effing life. Like
She's not gonna be
unless
like-
she's a crazy person too.
Right. But that's what I mean. I think in the book it plays really, really well, and the way that they do it in this part two, like it's played really well too, but they both have the same result. She's like, "You're fucking crazy, get me the fuck out of here."
Yeah. So he opens the door and then
Yes. So he opens a door, and then as they're making out, he notices that there's like the typewriter keys are missing, and he's like, "Bush, what?" And at that moment, she stabs him with like the back end of the typewriter keys, right? I think that's what it is. And so he gets stabbed, and he's like, "Ugh!" And she steals the keys. She locks him in. I was like, "What the fuck?"
I'm like, yes, different ending. Yes, I'm so down for this.
Yeah. So in the book, this doesn't happen. They literally fucking, and she like runs away, and then like the book is over. And so, so they have this struggle, and she locks him in. And the entire time, I was like, "Run, bitch, run! Like,
Run,
don't have a fucking conversation with this
No.
motherfucker." So he's.
So she does run.
Yeah, so she does. So, but before she runs, she does this full fucking monologue with him. She spins it around. She's like, "Do you think this is normal? Do you think this is justified that I'm in a cage? Like, look at you. Look at this situation." And she was like you like are pointing out all of my flaws and all the things that are wrong in my life, but you think that it's justified to kill all these people. She's like, "I never stalked you. I never killed anybody."
He's like, "But I did it for you. I was doing them." She's like, "I didn't ask you to do shit all for me."
Yeah, she's like, "It was my life. Like who gives you the right to take that away from me?" And then she's like, you thought that I would be grateful for all of this, but like, no, you're the thing that should have ended itself. And that's when she says, like, basically you should have killed yourself from time. Like, you so fucking psycho. And she's like, you're not anything special. You're just like a broken boy. That's it. And yeah, basically the entire time I was thinking like, bitch, run. Like, you don't need to have this monologue. Especially now. Just go. Go. So she goes up the stairs, and of course there's a second door that's like locked up, and it's a gate, so she can scream through it. So like it's not soundproof anymore. So she's screaming, and like magically Paco's just like
roaming the streets of New York City, and so he comes into the bookstore because there's no one else in the bookstore. The bookstore is empty,
closed ass bookstore. So he has the key, Joe's keys. I don't know what the fuck he's doing in there, but he
where's Ethan in this moment? Like Ethan's been in there the whole effing season. He's not there this one time.
Like Beck couldn't like wait to get out during the day when there was like normal work hours. Like, I don't know. So anyway, so she's screaming for help, and Paco hears her, opens the door, literally looks at her dead ass in her eyeballs,
stares at her face, and's like, bye.
Oh God, I can't even fucking deal with this
fucking kid.
Oh my gosh, guys, I can't even talk. Let's stop this podcast right now. He literally closes the fucking door on her.
Like, he couldn't even just look at her face and walk away. Like, he closed the door on her. Like take that in,
guys. What the hell just happened? I don't understand this part of the story.
I hate that he was a part of the story like this.
I really hate it. Like, it makes me feel very upset.
Cheated, and a little cheated too. Like, they just placed his character in there whenever they needed to fulfill some type of emotion from us. Yeah. And then now at the end they like fuck her over because he like just shuts the door on her.
Like, she could have just, which is what happens in the book. Yeah. In the book, she gets up to the top, but she can't get out because the main doors
are locked. That's why there's no one in the bookstore.
Right. And now she's like, fuck.
Makes sense.
Now I can't get out.
Yeah.
And then he like comes.
He kills her like by the register, like out in the open, basically.
Yeah, and it's a very intense brawl.
So I don't understand why they just wouldn't do that.
For them to bring Paco into the story, just like that's the thing that I freaking hated about the way that this all went down. You want to build up this really strong female character. She has this glow up. She's like, go fuck yourself. You're in a cage. I hate you. She runs up the stairs, and then a boy fucks her over. So now a man serial killer downstairs fucks her, and then a little boy
I think when you look at it from Joe's perspective, and I totally 100% like I agree with what you're saying, from when you look at it from his perspective, it's like all season this kid has been like the shining light in Joe's life, right? Like, where like we see Joe, he's fucked up, but like this kid makes him a human being. We feel bad for him when he's with Paco. Now Joe like infected Paco,
right?
Like,
with the murder of Ron.
Yeah, like he corrupted him. Yeah. What is that supposed to mean in all of this? I don't know.
Like, you made Paco a killer. Are you telling me
that like men are all evil? Like, men will like thing each other? Like, what is that? What am I supposed to get from that story? I think even Paco looking at her face and doing something more would have been so much more powerful. And what kid I've seen my mom get beaten up this whole time, and I'm gonna shut the door on your face.
Like, what?
I just don't understand what the message was trying to be. You want to protect Joe that badly?
Like, I don't understand. She's literally saying like screaming bloody murder, and you're just gonna close the door on her. No kid would ever do that.
It wasn't even like Joe was there and Beck was there, and Joe was like, "Yo, trust me, I'm here. Like, look at me. Don't do this to her. Like, Joe's like not even talking. Joe's like down the stairs. Yeah, and it's just him and Beck. So like, how can you stare at her face and just close the door?
And she literally says, "He is going to kill me. He is going to kill me." I just
don't understand in the grand scheme of things what the message was supposed to be.
What was the message at all? What was the message?
Like, he's a symbol of a new generation. Like,
and he fucks her,
and he's still gonna fuck her over. Like, I don't get what that's supposed to mean.
I was not cool with this moment at all. I was very upset about it, and anyway,
like, clearly we get heated because like we're like, I'm hot right now.
Pissed. So then she has to go back down the fucking stairs. Yeah. So he leaves, he dips, he fucking fucks off. And then she realizes she has to go back downstairs. She realizes that Joe is out of the cage.
The door's open.
Magic. Yeah. So she scours this. So she's been in that motherfucking place this whole time. And she didn't find a spare key? She didn't like look under a rug?
Him.
Oh, okay.
He had it on him, yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Anyway. I know. So, okay, fine. So.
Or even that would have been so stupid.
So he's like, I have a spare key.
He's like, I always had a spare key since Mr. Moody like locked me in here.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
Cut to that scene. No, like it was just so stupid.
Fine. So she's like, okay, true.
She's
I'm
like,
gonna have to like go
fucked.
back into the thing. But then she like tries to play this Hail Mary, and she like runs to the side and she grabs the hammer and smashes him in the head. And then she steals his keys, like the spare key, and then she tries to run up the stairs again and like open this thing. And if anybody knows the story of Bluebeard, it's about a woman, just really quickly, a woman finding out that her husband, Bluebeard, is an actual murderer and killed all of like the mistresses in his life, like all of his past wives, because they like betrayed him. And he has a set of keys. And like this moment, I think was very much a throw to that, where she's scrambling to like open this key in this door, and she can't find this master key to get in, to get out. And the very last moment before she's able to get through, he grabs her from behind. How this happens, I don't understand. How she didn't decide to fucking bash his brains in, I don't understand. She had so many opportunities to do something about this moment, and they didn't give her that power. And that's the part that I didn't really understand either. You know that he killed your ex-boyfriend and your best friend and locked you in a cage, and you smash him over the head one time so she can get out?
But I don't think it's fair to like throw that on her in that moment. Like she's also like scarred right now. Like
that's
like
fair.
Like in that moment she's not thinking to like bash him over the head 10 times.
Well,
she bashes him over the head and like tries to dip.
Like, but why don't you bash him over the head, take his key, put him back in the cage, stop him there?
I know. But you're thinking like rationally, but maybe in that moment she can't think rationally. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah.
I don't know.
It all could have, but that's what I mean. It's a very crucial moment for her to decide what to do next.
That's why I think in the book it seemed more realistic that she could get out. Where she opened the door, she ran to the front doors, and like could have made her escape. But this way is like her battling with this guy 5 times over. Like it's so unrealistic. Like
so this is
it just doesn't seem.
And so this is a spoiler for anybody who's going to be reading the book. And obviously, if you've listened to this podcast, we're spoiling the F out of the book. But in the book, it doesn't go down this way at all. She gets upstairs and the store is closed, and she realizes she needs that extra key. So she does knock him out downstairs. She runs upstairs. She doesn't lock him in there, I don't think. She runs upstairs and then she tries to get out, but she can't. And he like kind of barrels
like,
toward
why wouldn't
her.
you have to get out from the front door if it's locked from the inside? Like it's so stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's all so stupid.
So then she's trying to get out. There's no, and it's like 2 a.m. Like I remember they say like it's very like
because there's no one on
late.
the street, right?
Because she is screaming at the window. She can't get out, and I think she's about to break the window, and he comes from behind her, and by the register he basically puts her in a chokehold, and then chokes her to death. And then it's a crazy moment too, because I think that he thinks that she's dead, and he has this very sad, heartfelt moment where he's like, "Oh, my back, I'm so sorry. Like I regret everything. I regret you dying. This and this." And then she's actually not dead. She like hits him over the head again, and then he kills her for reals, like for realsies.
Yeah.
So it's more of a struggle for sure between the two of them. This was an interesting take on it, but like I said, she still doesn't get her opportunity to even like get to the front door. Freaking Paco closes the damn door on her face. Like it's just a little unfair in the way that they kind of treated her character.
I think to see her at least even claw to the front door would have just been more like, oh my gosh, she's almost there. Like she did it.
Yeah.
This one, no.
Yeah.
Like girl didn't even make it out of the freaking basement. Like.
So R.I.P. back. So it does cut to a commercial, and then it goes to the next moment.
It was like 4 months later.
And it's like 4 months later, and Ethan's talking about the book of Beck's book, and he's like, she was a great writer. R.I.P.
So it's from her, like Genevieve. She wrote
Guinevere Beck.
Oh yeah, Guinevere.
Genevieve. She looks like a Genevieve. Yeah, so she wrote this book, and he's like glowing her up. He's like R.I.P. whatever, and Joe's in the back corner like sweeping up, and he's like, yeah, I do wish that you were here, because like now you're glowed up. Like I basically
like, shut up, like you killed her.
You fucking psycho.
She was here. You killed her.
He's like, but it was the way that it needed to go. Like I can't believe.
Like so gross.
Oh my god. So
and also what happened to the DNA testing? It's been 4 months.
I know.
Like how much time do you need for DNA testing?
Hustle in, motherfuckers. So so this all happens, and then what happens? He's like, yeah, I'm really sad. It shows kind of all these moments of like how everything went down. Dr. Nikki gets framed. Yeah. So he actually does move forward with that plan, and say like,
everything
it falls on him. Like he was a stalker. He freaks out, and that's what happens in the book as well. And then it shows him putting like the memoirs into like the thing, and Blythe getting the memoirs and then publishing them.
Yeah.
So this part also, I don't think is in the book either. Like she becomes like this published writer.
Yeah, I don't think her part's in it.
But like it was cool to kind of add that little thing in, because Blythe is like, I got these pages and I realized that like all she was doing was writing about her own death. Yeah. And like it's very just, like, interesting.
They make fun of that whole world too.
Yeah, for sure. And like how it's
I have
all
to tell my agent right away.
Yeah, like literary genius. Like it's all about the truth and life, whatever. So then it shows this final scene, which is very interesting because it does happen in the book, but it definitely doesn't end this way.
No.
So he sees a new girl walk in. And this is the moment that like made my blood boil at the end of the book. Because you see him and he says basically the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, who's this? And they even shot it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
They basically shot it the same way. I don't know if you saw, but we put on Recap Rewind a video of like that first entrance of Beck walking into the store, and it's basically the same thing, her like running her hands over the books, but he's kind of pointing out different things because obviously she's not wearing the same thing. Person, he's like you like to be covered because you're wearing a hoodie but your legs are exposed. I'm like, oh my god, you're such a weirdo.
Like it's been 4 months, bro.
But that's what I mean. And at the end of the day you realize that Joe is just a plain
he's
old
just a crazy
fucking
person.
Psycho. And I think that's the part of the book.
And Beck wasn't special. She really wasn't special.
But he does say, I wish you were. He's like, I wish you were the one. So it's almost like he still justifies why he does what he does, because he's like, you weren't the one, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I do until I don't have to kill anybody anymore. Wow. Like that's his justification, which is crazy. But so he sees this new girl in the book. It's some other chick, and she like I think steals a book, and he's like, ooh, you steal.
I think her
like,
name's like Amy Adams or something.
Yeah, it's Amy Adam.
Oh,
like,
Adam.
Adam, just one, no S. And and she's like this like badass chick, and then you realize that like this is going to be like the next part of the story, or like it's just going to continue. I didn't know that there was a sequel when I read you. But freaking twist
of the century.
It's freaking Candace.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Candace.
And I was like, no, this must be a dream sequence. This must be like he's like kind of deja vu. It's a vision. I don't know. Like this can't be her. She's dead. But she's not. Like this was fully Candace.
She's fully Candace.
And what does she say?
She says we have some unfinished business to talk about.
Girl, you were like a year and 4 months ago. Like, where are you?
One of your friends just like another girl just died because of you. Like what the just happened? And
that's how it finishes. So what did you think of that final ending? Like, were you mad at it? Were you happy? Were you shocked that it wasn't book at all?
The one thing that I was gagged about was the fact that they did throw that little last piece into it for the book readers who have read it. It's like a little new thing that we never would have been able to.
I mean, it's not new. It's just like don't kill her in this.
Don't kill her
and put her in the
keep
end.
her alive.
Yeah.
So it's asking me a lot of questions as a TV viewer now to be like, okay, like we really don't know. I think we even alluded to it in our podcast.
We did.
Candace's been done dead.
Like she is dead.
And so
we were very confident about it.
Yeah, and I really want to know what you guys thought about this moment too, because we probably set you guys up too to make you guys feel that she was dead for sure. So I was gagged.
It's weird because in the previous scene he does go home and he sees effing Claudia and her dumbass son like packing up. They're like packing up the car, and I think she says we're going to California.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I thought this, because apparently the next book, Hidden Bodies, takes place in California.
Right.
So I thought this was the moment where like they're setting up the second season. She's gonna be like, come with us, Joe. Like you'll have a fresh start. So I was like, oh, okay, this is how they're gonna end the show so they can continue on the second season.
Right.
But that's not what happens at all, because it cut to 4 months. He's still in the bookstore.
Right.
And then now Candace is for real there with him.
And he's not in jail.
And he's not in jail. So yeah, I was just like, I was happy that they had a female character have a moment, have an ending in this show. I was so happy that I'm like, okay, she's not dead. She's obviously gonna like now bring him down.
Right. Do you think that that's what her MO is now?
I mean, I hope so.
But then why doesn't she just turn around and like bash him over the head and be done with it and like walk away from the situation?
Because maybe the only way to bring him down, she wants to bring him down like for real, like properly, like
through
track
the judicial
him.
System. Like
I guess, yeah, like freaking making a murderer. It's like season 3.
What the fuck?
I don't know. So I'm happy for that, just because I'm like finally like you get to see a freaking woman like do something for real in the show. If she is even gonna do that,
it's really interesting.
But I didn't like how it was very different from the book. I didn't like that.
You didn't like it.
I didn't like that.
What did you not like
because
about it?
Her coming in at this moment, like she's supposed to be dead. You know, like all season you've been pointing these fingers, and I think as a character, like it just makes sense for her to be dead. To bring her in now in episode 10, where we're sort of, you know, looking into the next season and what next storyline is going to be. Does she really make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting because, okay, so Sarah Gamble, who's the exec producer on the show, she is all about strong female leads, like strong female characters. So I understand what she was trying to do with Beck, but I feel like you're going to get the real redemption with the Candace storyline. I think that's really where we're going to get that big storyline that is going to show the revenge of a female scorned, you know?
Yeah.
And we don't know how she leaves Joe's apartment. We assume that he kills her in that moment, right? Like when she rips up the book. But she legit leaves, goes to Italy, like pieces the fuck out.
You think she went to Italy?
I think she did, yeah. I think she did all the things that, like, they weren't Photoshop pictures. Like, I think she actually did all those things. But now she's back, and she's back to, like, get revenge on him. But I don't know how that's going to go. Are they going to torture him for all the season? Like, what do we expect from season 2 is what I want to know.
Yeah.
Is like, I don't know about Hidden Bodies. I don't know the whole story about that either, like what he does there in LA. So I'm not sure what the premise is going to be and if it's going to be any comparative to what they're going to do in the show if it gets picked up, right?
I almost feel like something inside me is like the show's veering off into their own own world. They're leaving her book behind so that they can do whatever they want.
I think so too. I think you're right. Yeah.
But honestly, I'm so curious to see what our listeners thought about this finale because I'm really in the middle. Like, I don't know. I love there was certain parts of it that I loved, but overall, I just didn't understand why are we giving him the ending.
Giving him that moment.
Will season 2 be totally different? I hope so, and it probably will. It'll probably all Candace's, like, you know, revenge kind of, but I don't know.
We'll see. Or maybe not if we stop doing this podcast. Let's get into the recap roundup.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. So we had the best moment.
We had the same best moment.
Best moment, yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit more. It was the writing of Beck and having that whole moment where she kind of talks about her past and the little flashbacks in between. I just thought it was really it was really good television.
It was really, I mean, good writing.
Amazing
like, I can't believe it wasn't in the book. I'm like, Caroline, girl, where were you at? Like,
come through.
Like, this was really, really emotional.
For sure. It definitely gives you that aspect that we were kind of craving from Beck from the get-go and shows that she's not just this vapid, dumb girl. She has a story. And
I think it showed you what they were trying to do with her.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it finally all, like, connected, and I was like, okay.
Right.
Yes, I get it. But you guys waited till episode 10
You guys waited till episode 10, and at the same time, you're telling two different stories, and that's what I was trying to say from the get-go, is it's two different stories.
Yeah.
I love this backstory, for sure, but it just didn't make sense in you, to me.
WTF moment. Oh my God, Candace at the end, for sure. Yeah. For sure. I was like, what? Yeah. No way.
No way, Jose. Yeah, for sure. That was one of my WTF ones for sure. Because you took that one, I'm going to say Paco just being an idiot.
Yeah, no,
Paco being a full loser and him closing the door on Beck in that big, crucial ass moment. And like what he fucking does at the end. Like we forgot to talk about the fact that he like dips. He like moves away.
Yeah,
like,
they move away.
And he's like, I hope you're better. And he's like, me too, bye. Like, what?
He's like, hashtag bro code. I won't tell anyone you murdered 3 fucking people.
I don't get it. Paco's a loser. I hate his characters so much. Bye.
MVP. My MVP's gonna go to Beck.
Girl, hi.
We had a lot of the same ones, and I don't know what it was. I just had to give it to the girl. You know, I think she sucked all season. I think in this episode, she had a little bit more to give.
Yes.
I was like, come through, girl. I feel you coming through. Just come all the way.
Yeah,
she didn't come all the way. Unfortunately,
she couldn't,
like,
right?
They just didn't write her that way.
They didn't write her that way.
But the writing that she had in the middle, it was just beautiful. Yeah. And I was like, oh, like, I understand you now.
Yes. Fine.
And I felt so bad for her. I was like, I wish you had a better ending, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think this is what I wanted from Beck from the get-go. And, you know, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, they're just both effed up together. But this really humanized her mindset and really gave her the reason why she did what she did. And yeah, it was just a very, very powerful moment for her as a character. And yeah, even like you said, even though she didn't come through at the very end, that wasn't really her fault, but she was definitely my MVP this episode. Absolutely. Yeah. She really had the strongest storyline. 100%. It's just R.I.P. Beck. Like, I feel kind of sad about it.
Yeah, I remember when I finished the book, I missed her. Like, I missed like making fun of her.
Yeah.
I missed like her dumb adventures.
Right.
Like, I missed, even though the story's like basically done at that point in the book, I felt like you just feel like you lost
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just like because I'm a girl and I'm like, I feel like she should have won this story.
Yeah.
It was just like I felt like we lost.
Yeah.
And it was like a shitty feeling,
saying,
you know?
sure.
Especially because like there's no continuation, like there's no like second part to it. So I don't know what happens to her.
She done dead.
Does Candace come back? Like that would have been sick for the book to end like that, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't. Like it literally ends with him killing her and then probably gonna go kill Amy Adam. Like so it just felt very like
Yeah.
LVP.
My LVP is gonna go, I think, to the writers of the episode, just in terms of what they took from the book. I guess, I don't know, and what they added in. I don't know. I just didn't feel like...
You didn't feel like it was cohesive? Because I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're trying to say. Is like, I didn't think that it made sense. It was like you guys are trying to tell two different stories.
Yeah.
And you guys mashed them together and then hoped for the best. And I don't think that was where you should have gone with this story.
Yeah.
Personally. My LVP 100% for the very last time. Give it up to Paco.
Can I get a P-A-C-O one last time?
I'm done talking about this motherfucking
I'm
kid.
gonna get you a framed picture of Paco for Christmas.
I'm done with this damn guy. I'm really glad that the season's done because he's
Of
moved
Paco.
away.
No, literally,
and he's
like-
gone forever. I hated his character more than ever this episode for obvious reasons. And yeah, he totally fucked back at the very end of it all.
Yeah,
and
it was bad.
he had no reason to do what he
Yeah.
did. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Is
And I think they could have, like I was saying before, they could have spoken volumes if they changed his character a little bit to be like, I'm gonna save her. Like, I've seen my mom get beaten up this whole season. What have I learned? Like, that
Nothing.
women shouldn't get beaten up. Like, let me save this girl. No.
No.
I'm just shove the door on her face. Like,
wow.
cool.
Bye.
That's what we learned? Okay. Thanks, Lifetime. The best line. My best line was like a portion of that because I wanted to like write it all. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna write the whole thing.
I'm gonna do the second part. So.
But it was, you used to wrap yourself in fairy tales like a blanket, but it was the cold you loved. By the schoolyard, real princesses floated by you on fall winds. You saw the gulf between you and the rich girls and vowed to stop believing in fairy tales. But the stories were in you, deep as poison. And like every word
Shivers.
like hits because like
Shivers.
deep as poison, like those stories almost became poison because
Yeah.
it's like you're trying to live that kind of life or like get to that level.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna
and she
have
hated
that.
those girls from the get-go.
You know?
Oh God.
It was a really
such
like
good writing.
that like I want to
Monologue
rewatch
was
it
the
again.
best,
Was
just
just
for that moment.
amazing. Like
Because my
I
continuation.
wish she had more.
Yeah.
I really do. I wish they had more of that throughout the season
To make you feel like she has a deeper character
Exactly.
than who she really portrayed.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna rattle off the second half of that because I think it was just as deep to me. So she says, "For every boy masquerading as a man you let into your heart, you learned you didn't have whatever magic that turns a beast into a prince. You surrounded yourself with the girls you always resented, hoping to share their power, and you hated yourself and that diminished you even more. And then right when you thought you were going to disappear, he saw you, and you knew somewhere deep it was too good to be true. Now in his castle, you understand Prince Charming and Bluebeard are the same man, and you don't get a happy end unless you love both of him. Didn't you ask for this, to be loved? What if you can't love him back? What if you aren't the one?" Woo!
Yeah, a lot of chills.
So many chills, guys. What an amazing way to write her out. It just, like I said, did not did not connect with the rest of what she does. She's like, after she writes this amazing
Like,
story,
I'm telling you guys, she was like dumbass, and then she wrote some bomb ass piece at the end. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Where were you?
And then she's still like, "But you're fucking crazy. I'm leaving." Like,
Yeah,
she's
and then like
still-
R.I.P.
Yeah. Like, do you think, like, just based on what she wrote, do you think that she could have turned around and been like, "We're good. You and me, Joe, together forever"?
I think that would
you
have
have
made
been
for some interesting TV, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think if she tried to live with him,
Yeah.
keyword tried, and then like it didn't work out, that would make some really cool TV because like now she knows everything about him. But
And she's like just as dark as he is.
but I don't
it
know.
wasn't.
That's what I mean. Like they didn't give her anything. They really didn't.
Yeah.
Like the only way
They
was
gave her
like that.
half and then
Like,
they stopped.
yeah.
That's what happened. Anyway, guys, let us know. We want to know all your details. Make sure you guys I hope you guys have been commenting as we've been talking about this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's it, guys. Season 1.
Season 1
We
is
out.
done.
That's it. Make sure you guys are still continuing to subscribe to our channel. We're still doing podcasts, obviously. So just stay tuned for the rest of our stuff. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.